I don't really know how I really feel about this fight. I mean, they both have one loss on their record, one loss to the same opponent. Both got outboxed by Billy Joe Saunders. But Gary Spike O'Sullivan, see, what it is to beat Eubank Jr. at this stage of his career, I believe that you have to be a boxer and you have to be a mover. We don't know what what Chris Eubank Jr.'s chin is like yet, because he hasn't really taken too many tough shots consistently. And I just think that I just don't think that Spike O'Sullivan has enough to be able to defeat Chris Eubank Jr. in the cards. Just my opinion. Chris Eubank Jr. does have an issue, in my opinion, is where he doesn't throw enough punches, and also his jab seems to be a little suspect. And we don't really know what kind of fighter he is, because majority of his career, well, most of his career, up until Billy Joe Saunders, we saw him just fight showboating competition where he's doing all these little dances and, you know, just pretty much stalking his prey, trying to be like his pop. I just don't know what to rank Chris Eubank Jr. in the 160-pound division just yet. Now, Gary Spike O'Sullivan is a step up from his last fight, and it also is Gary O'Sullivan is better than Nightwolf. If you don't know who Nightwolf is, then you need to do your research. He's also better than him. But when I think of, can Chris Eubank Jr. beat Danny Jacobs? Can a Chris Eubank Jr. beat a Billy Joe Saunders again? You know what I mean? Can he beat, not again, but can he beat a Billy Joe Saunders? How about can he hang with Peter Quillen, even though Peter Quillen just got knocked out? I'm still, lost on where to rank him. And it's crazy because Chris Eubank Sr. keeps talking Golovkin this and Golovkin that. You don't hear Chris Eubank Jr. talking nothing about Golovkin, because Golovkin, in my opinion, would destroy Chris Eubank Jr. I like Chris Eubank Jr. as far as charisma. He's good for boxing. For example, this fight got me hype, especially after seeing the weigh-in. I'm not saying I get hype off of two men kissing. If you don't know, Gary O'Sullivan, Spike O'Sullivan, kissed Eubank Jr. dead on the mouth. But all I'm saying is, they've been going at each other, especially the behind the gloves, or the gloves are off, excuse me, which is the UK's version of HBO Face Off with Max Kellerman, was actually pretty good. But if you look at O'Sullivan, he's a lot shorter than I actually thought he was, and that may be an issue when it comes to reach, and both of those guys fighting on the inside. But I'm hype about the fight. I'm going to be covering the fight. The winner of this, according to Eddie Hearn, is supposed to be going after Danny Jacobs next, but that's likely not going to happen immediately, because Danny Jacobs, or the promoter that's promoting Danny Jacobs, Lou DiBella, is talking about Andy Lee. And Andy Lee and Billy Joe Saunders are fighting next week, December the 19th, and it's looking like the winner of that is going to fight either Golovkin, or most likely it will be Danny Jacobs. So who does Chris Eubank Jr. fight after this? It's likely going to be somebody ranked by the WBA, because it looks like he's chasing a WBA title. And also Spike O'Sullivan is ranked by the WBA as well. So the winner of this is actually going to be fighting somebody ranked, like I said, in the WBA, and possibly maneuvering to get a Golovkin. If not a Golovkin, most likely not a Golovkin, but a Danny Jacobs fight in the future. I'm T-Street Controversy. This is T-Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. I'm going to be covering this fight, Eubank Jr. versus Spike O'Sullivan. In fact, I've covered every Eubank Jr. I've covered all but 6 of his fights. T-Street Controversy, T-Street Controversy Live.